Welcome to day one orientation at Hogwarts Academy. What is magic? Folks talked a few videos back about the powers of the mind. Now we're going to zero right in. We're going to dig deep, and the knowledge will be revealed. We're going to explore these powers of the mind, which really, the mind is just a tool. Keep in mind, the mind is a tool for the power of the spirit and the aware spirit that is aware, connected back to source. And that is where the true magic, the white magic, there is no black magic here. There's only white magic, good intentions within the law of one, the unified field of consciousness. And that's what we're going to explore as we journey forth. Keep that in mind. This is not to cast little spells, to put a ward on your neighbor, or to make frogs jump out of your enemy's grocery basket. Okay, this is all about good intentions, positive intentions, and the magic is simply being aware of your fractal of God, your source connection back to the source of all creation. What is magic? Magic is the highest, most absolute, and most divine knowledge of natural philosophy, advanced in its works and wonderful operations by a right understanding of the inward and outward hidden virtue of things, so that true agents being applied to proper subjects, strange and admirable effects will thereby be produced. Magic is spiritual force in action. It is an art, a science, and moreover, it is a craft. It is an art, meaning there is a lot of room for individual creativity. It is a science, meaning that there are certain consistent, established principles which we can benefit from studying. And it is a craft requiring hands-on application and practice. Magic is the art, science, and craft of changing your consciousness and your world to better reflect what you really want. Magic is based on the idea that everything in the world around you reflects your inner consciousness. As you change your consciousness, you change your world. Magic is a lifestyle and a path. It is not an organization, although various organizations exist to help magicians in their learning. Your only commitment ever is to your higher self and your spiritual development. Magic is an individualistic pursuit, though it can be practiced very effectively in groups as well. Often small groups or even one-on-one mentorship is the best way to learn and practice your craft without the social pressures of a large group. You may also practice your craft by subscribing to this BitChute channel, and also these videos are posted over on YouTube under Mark McGuire. That is another effective and a meaningful way to practice your craft. Spirituality can be practiced without magic, in which case is usually known as prayer or meditation, and has no deliberate outward force. Magic can be practiced without spirituality, and this is generally known as low magic or witchcraft in the generic sense, where force is projected outward in spells and incantations in order to accomplish some simple mundane goal, love, money, etc. When spirituality and magic are combined, it is called high magic, which is spiritual force projected outward into the world for purposes of inner development. In magic, initiation is an important first step. Initiation simply means the formal recognition that you have stepped onto the path of conscious evolution. Most magicians are self-initiated. To initiate yourself is simply to make a firm decision to set out on the path of spiritual growth. Once you have made this first step, you are an initiate. To be an initiate is to have begun a journey not finished yet. Since magic is such an individualistic and creative pursuit, outside of a particular organization, there are no grades as such, but one can speak informally or of approximate levels of advancement that may exist in different magicians. Individuals may be considered students, adepts, or masters, depending on their level of personal advancement, or they can be referred to generically as magician, which can refer to any degree of advancement. A student is anyone who is curious about the path of magic and has begun studying it with or without an external teacher. An adept is someone who's been at it a long time, years, not months, and should be able at minimum to answer most questions put by a student, and should know all the basic rituals in this book by heart, and preferably many more. The success of an adept's practice should be evident by looking at his demeanor and overall life. An advanced adept may not be in need of external teacher, though many of them still maintain ties with their old teachers, since there's always something to be learned. A master is a rarity and is often known by the fact that other adepts look to him or her as an example. Adepts teach students, masters teach adepts. This book, this course of videos, this series of instruction will aim to teach basic magic to anyone who has a curiosity about it or is just set out on the path of wisdom. It has been assembled from a wide variety of sources, specially chosen to be most helpful to new students or those needing a quick refresher course. It is meant as a ready handbook, and these videos can serve as a ready reference point of resource guide. The arrangement proceeds logically from basic principles to rituals, which may be of use in any circumstances, to forms of divination and magic, which will be more helpful to a student who has mastered the basics first. While you don't need an external teacher to learn magic, such a one can certainly be of help. There are many things that cannot easily be learned only from books and require the actual presence of a person with whom one can communicate and receive feedback. This is especially true in an area as creative and esoteric as magic. The first step in learning anything is knowing that you need to learn something. If you know you need to learn something, you will realize that you also need a teacher or teachers to teach you that thing. The teacher or teachers you need must be individuals who have already learned what it is you want to learn. A teacher is first and foremost a lifelong student who was once in the position of his student and who in fact will still be growing and may even have a more advanced teacher beyond him. Regardless of this fact, you do a disservice to the teacher and to yourself if you bring skepticism and constant doubt into the relationship with the teacher. You must have gone beyond this point before seeking out and settling on a teacher. If you constantly doubt and are skeptical of the teacher, you will learn nothing. If you have such deep doubts, it is best to find another teacher or reevaluate your goals. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. This is an ancient truth and remains true. You will come across the right teacher for you at a given time when you are open to the possibility. You will be actively looking for such a teacher at that time. You may have more than one teacher, as different teachers may specialize in different aspects of what you need to learn. No teacher is an expert in all areas. Also, you may move from one teacher to another as you grow and your needs change. Often, one teacher may suggest that you move on and may give you the name of another or point you in the right direction. If he feels or she feels your growth may better be served in another direction. Still, you must be grateful to the first teacher for taking you as far as he or she did. They served their purpose, even if it was a limited one. Time to move on without regret. There are more false students than false teachers. That is, students that only think they are students, but who aren't sincere or have false motives. A teacher may be deliberately acting as a bad example in order to show you what not to do. Be grateful for the lesson. A teacher may deliberately aim lessons at your weakest spots to bring them to your attention. Remember that pain is a great teaching tool as well. A student holds a great responsibility, but the teacher holds an even greater one. Excessive skepticism is the opposite of the magical attitude. Excessive negativity is the opposite of the magical mindset. It is your responsibility to choose your path with care. It is your responsibility to choose a teacher with care. Avoid mixing and matching of paths. While simply studying or reading, you can study any path or tradition, but when actually putting your knowledge into practice, you must utilize one at a time. You cannot specialize in too many different traditions at once, or your power and focus will be dispersed. You may utilize several traditions that are closely related or have a connection between them. However, some traditions work better in combination than others. You should open your awareness and see which path or tradition pulls you the most. If possible, find a tradition that is suited to your own culture and mindset. For most European students, a tradition based upon Indo-European archetypes and heritage will prove more fruitful than those which are alien or which properly belong to another heritage. This is a matter of respecting your own as well as other people's heritages. Student and teacher are equal in terms of the role each must serve, but the student must not supplant the teacher. If the student has advanced beyond the teacher, it is time to separate without rancor or regret. If at any time you feel you know more than the teacher, it is time to separate and move on. Even if you are wrong, the feeling you know more will prevent you from further learning from that teacher. Backsliding is impossible. Only the appearance of backsliding. In fact, growth always goes forward. A tree cannot turn back into an acorn, though it can certainly be stunted or broken down and turned into lumber or kindling, but this is not going backwards. Go for quality, not quantity. Doesn't matter if you're only the student and your teacher is the only teacher. In the end, this is always the case anyway. It is difficult to judge one's own progress objectively. Am I progressing too slowly, etc. Because one's judgment is naturally distorted by wishful thinking or hypercriticism. The teacher is a better judge of the student's progress than the student, and this is one of the great benefits of a teacher. You cannot always choose your magical curriculum any more than you can choose your life experiences, but you can use them for your evolution. Anyone can be a teacher, up to the level of beingness that they are in. They cannot teach beyond that, however. Thus, if you have been studying magic for 1 month, you can teach someone who's only been studying it for 1 day, but both you and your student will quickly reach your limits. All right, folks, so that's just a little basic introduction to curriculum, some general underpinnings, some philosophical guidelines, and just a little orientation. Refreshments are in the cafeteria. Namaste, namaskaram.